So just going to finish up the story here. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the energy real quick. So when I said, one of the things that I said that, that for how when fish realizes that like I took the energy from fish, so to speak, and now I'm like, like the crowd's going to me versus going to fish, right? Let me just rephrase that. So when I say took the energy, I don't want to say like because you really can't. Yes, you can take energy from people. I feel like that is true, energy vampires and stuff like that. But that's not what I'm saying here. Like, it's not like I took energy from fish. It was like basically like as soon as I had that experience, because the experience of saying the prayer, the energy, blessing it, the Hail Mary, and then being bombarded with some really negative energy and thoughts that almost knocked me off my space, and then I had to fight it with my mental energy and being like, no way, like I'm definitely saying that prayer, like get off of me. And then at that point I was like on fire, and then that's when the dancing was like hitting because then the Holy Spirit was getting involved. Then the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, you get off of him, like you leave him alone, dude. What's up? I'll even bless him right now, like he's gonna be dancing like crazy all over the stadium, you know what I mean? And so anyways, that's what I did, and I started dancing like a madman. And it was amazing, and the meditative and all that stuff that came from it, absolutely unbelievable. And it's one of those things where when I said that I took the energy, that's not true, because I was putting out crazy amounts of energy. And I was seeing a psychic at the time. It's the only one of the few times. When my mom passed away, I did see a psychic, and the psychic did say that she was like telling me, she was like, there's going to be a breakthrough for you, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And when I went to that concert and had that meditative dancing experience, when I came back and I had my first visit with my psychic, and she said, it was kind of cute because she was excited, but she was like I told her, I said, yeah, I had a crazy experience at a concert, da, da, da. And she was just like, and I told her what happened. She was like, I knew there was going to be a breakthrough for you. And she was like, I didn't think that it was going to be at a concert, you know what I mean? And in front of all those people and everything and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so it was. And that was kind of like an awakening moment. And it was at the Fish Show in Manchester, October 26th of 2010. Thank you, Fish. And thank you, Manchester, New Hampshire, for that. It was amazing. And but yeah, so Back to the Future, we're here, and so here we go. So basically, yeah, we're here to make things better. So let's just talk about like taking energy a little bit. So let's just talk about what I meant by that, and just kind of how I am as a personality. So here's the thing, dude. I took I'm not a martial artist by any means of this form. Joe Rogan, one of my favorite people out there in the world. I think he's an amazing person. That is a legitimate martial artist. People in the UFC organization, all those things, those are legitimate martial artists. I'm not trained like that. But I did take some Kung Fu lessons in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I did do a little karate when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like whatever. And I did play some sports, which, transfers to, movements and stuff. But the Kung Fu that I took when I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, this was after the meditative dancing and all that stuff, of course. But I actually had a crazy experience in a dream. And you can say whatever you want to say about Kung Fu, everybody out there. But there is something special about that art. And it goes beyond the physical. I mean, the physical part of it is, yeah, amazing. But those people know what they're doing, dude. And I'll just leave it at that. But as far as the Kung Fu goes, like I was to Myrtle Beach Kung Fu, South Carolina. I was in Myrtle Beach. There was a guy, Shifu Fred Christie. He was the one that ran it. He was a black belt, trained in New York. He was a firefighter from New York City. Okay, I think he did firefighting there for like 25, 30 years. And this guy he was one of those guys. I mean, I wonder what he'd be thinking about the riots right now, right? But he was a firefighter there. And this guy was amazing, man. I mean, you don't want to mess with this dude. I mean, not only was he trained in black belt and Kung Fu and everything, and I know people out there be like, oh, Kung Fu, like UFC, that doesn't even do good or whatever. But like, say what you want to say. This dude he was a tough dude. And firefighter, this guy was no joke. He was the type of guy. I mean, this guy would run into any situation if somebody's life was on line, And but he was no joke, and he was trained, and he was a black belt, and he was certified to run a school, and they had a connection. And so so yeah, I went to that school and I was doing it, and it was crazy because it's kind of like it was almost like I was being tested in my dream. But I had a dream, and this dream is going to tell you a lot of things about just basically myself, but then it's also going to tell you some things about just wow, like how amazing that is, like the conscious level, like maybe you have to be morally advanced before more knowledge can be given to you as a human being or as a species in general, because I do believe there's an individual and a collective, consciousness. And so maybe as a collective consciousness as a species and as an individual consciousness of the species, you have to reach a moral level before more knowledge will be coming on, and you have to reach another moral level before more knowledge will be added on, stuff like that, right? Maybe they just don't give you all the knowledge right away if you're not morally, if you're morally corrupt, then they're not going to give you the knowledge as much because you're going to do bad things, right? And they understand that. They don't want to give you knowledge. You're going to do bad things with it, So in that Kung Fu in general, as a teacher, I don't know what they teach these things. I don't know if this was from Shifu Fred Christie or what, but I had a dream. So now I'm in the dream, and in the dream, you know how dreams are. They start, and you're in the middle of the dream. And in the middle of this dream, I was in a line. And I was in a line of people. And there was a line next to me. And there was two lines, and we were going up. There was people in front of me, and there was something ahead of me. And I could tell that I was in China, and there was like all these, maybe I wasn't in China, but there was all this Chinese, you know what I mean? Like I was like a Shaolin monastery type thing, and it was all whatever, beautifully decorated, man, like amazing, cool stuff. And so I'm sitting there, and like, dude, it was like I could hear fighting going on in front of me, and I'm putting the two and two together, and they're like, it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna be fighting the person to my right because there's two lines. And we're just waiting our turn because there's people in front of us, and as each person fights, then they clear, and then the next two go, and we move up in line. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm getting all the butterflies and everything, because I'm like, man, I don't want to fight anybody to do what the hell? Why am I in this dream? Sorry for my language. Why am I in this dream right now? Like, I could tell I was in a dream, but it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I felt like I was in real life, but I was also like, I felt like I was like, you know what I mean? I was like, this is weird. Like, you know what I mean? Wait a minute. Like, I'm dreaming, but like, it wasn't like I had control over my dream. I was like, I was just like letting it go, letting it flow, and observing, but also flowing. And so, as I'm going, as we're getting closer and closer, I'm just getting more nervous, and more of me screaming, like, I just want to get out of this. I don't want to fight, And I'm just kind of like, dude, I just honestly, if I can, the way I can get out of line or like whatever, but there was no way I had to keep moving forward, right? Because I'm doing this Kung Fu training, and I know I'm doing the Kung Fu training in real life, and I'm like, I got to do it. So I got to fight this guy. So we finally get up into the ring, right? Into the little area where we're going to fight, and there's people judging. And luckily, they said, all right, here are the rules. They said, no strikes, no nothing to the head, to the face, whatever. You're literally just going to grab each other. And then the first person to be able to throw the other person down by like a throw, that's the person who wins. The person who gets thrown down, who loses their balance and hits the ground, that's the person who loses, right? So I was just like, dude, that's awesome. That's sweet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty good on my feet. And also, I really don't want to fight somebody like that. I don't want strikes and everything where it's going to be brutal, And so I was like, all right, not that bad. So all of a sudden it wasn't that bad, again, in the dream. And so me and the person grabbed each other and whatever, and I hip tossed them, you know what I mean? Bang, they hit the ground, I won, right? And so here's a little story. So basically, in between the dream, come back to the dream in a second, but it's said, so this is again, it's said that when two people legitimately fight, that, think about it, when a fight happens, what happens? I mean, literally, it's like people go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. Nobody fights, and they're just kind of like, no big deal. I mean, if they are, it's not really a fight. When a real fight happens, it's like just aggressiveness to the max, right? And it's like, going at each other, whatever, right? And it's gonna work its way out, but for a while, it's like two grizzly bears going at it, right? And they're just like tearing each other apart, right? So think about this. Our auras are certain colors, but we have a chakra system, an energy system that has a bunch of different colored chakras, right? Just like all the different colors of the rainbow. Conveniently and coincidentally enough, we have all the different colors of the chakras, energy centers in our system, right? So, but we have different personalities, different ways that we are. Like I was saying before, some people are gifted in different ways. And so they have different color auras, based on, I just think that where their kind of energy is vibrating at, right? So, and where they're more comfortable being, right? And so, but we can all, just like an instrument, hit all different colors of that aura, so to speak, or that color, I think, based off of like how we're kind of meditating on what's going on in a situation. And red's a very primal, they say the root chakra is very primal energy, right? And so, red's a very, it's a very aggressive color, a very primal color, that primal energy. And think about when two people are fighting, you're going to have a very primal, thing happening, in the third dimension for a little bit here, right? So there's going to be some primal energy going on. And when that happens, both people's aura colors, their energy glows red. And it glows red because think about it, all of a sudden, like the energy output in the body, as soon as you get that adrenaline dump, and then all that energy just comes flying out, right? It's like, of course, the aura is going to be glowing. All that energy is like a fire just got lit, right? And now they say red because there's so much anger and fury and rage, right? So that aura color is red. It's glowing red, right? And when two people fight, it's like if they glow red, their aura, right? The energies glow red. And whoever wins the fight, they're the winner. They take the other person's energy. And then the other person is now devoid of that energy. And think about it, it makes sense because when you see fights, think back when in high school, think about just in the UFC or what you see. After you see a fight happen, you see the one person, the winner, you see the loser, just like think about it in the UFC. The loser always looks kind of like beat down, just kind of, timid a little bit, just, maybe in shock, maybe in pain, maybe whatever, but just they don't look good, right, usually. And the winner looks like, even if they got beat up, they look so happy, man. They're just like, what up, I won, right? And they got that energy, so to speak, but the other person looks devoid or whatever, so to speak. And then everybody wants to be around the winner. They're like, yeah, blah, 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 that energy's sweet, right? And kind of everybody's just kind of like, to the loser, right, for a while. Then it takes a loser. Sometimes people never recover from it. But sometimes it takes people time to recover, and they get their energy back, and then one day they're back in the arena, so to speak. But that's how, when fights happen, fights are dangerous, man, and like it glows red and whatever. But I want to go back to the dream here. So in the dream, it was like, me and this dude had a fight, and I was like thankful that we didn't have to like kill each other, and it was just a throw fight, and I was able to throw him, and he hit the ground, and I won, but I got his energy because he hit the ground, so I won. So like our auras glowed red. It was like I was absorbed his because I won the fight, and then he got up, and they were like, you won. And then now the next people were coming up, and it was like, that was it, literally. And so now me and him were walking off the little stage or whatever, the little area, and it was going to the next part of the dream. And I felt good because I had won, but this dude, he felt horrible because he lost, And as he was walking off, man, like I could see he was dejected because he had lost his energy, man. Like he had gotten beat up bad, and when I say beat up bad, but like it's like he lost the thing, and when I threw him, like I took his energy, and so now I'm walking off with not only my energy but his energy as well, and he's walking off without his energy, but now all devoid of it, and just kind of like moping off, like sad, and I saw this, and I was just literally I ran right over to him before we got off the mat, before we got off the fighting area, the little staging area, as we were like getting ready to walk off, like after he got up and they were like, okay, you're good, next people. Like I ran over to him, and I wasn't trying to do this, but I was just like, I wasn't gonna let this guy, I wasn't gonna walk out with his energy. That's not right. So I ran over to him, and I was just like, hey man, hey dude, hey. And he kind of looked at me like, like, what do you want? And I was like, hey man, this is yours, dude. I was like, this is your energy. I don't want your energy. You know what I mean? Like, this is your energy. Like, whether or not like I want it, whatever, this is your energy, dude. Like I want you to be looking good. I want you to look good. I want you to feel good. This was just the only reason why that, like, I even participated in that, just because I'm doing this kung fu training, and so that's why I threw you. But I would never actually want to hurt you or take your energy. I love, you know what I mean? God bless you, like, and I hope that if you ever, get in a situation with me, that you treat me the same way. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like that way. It was kind of cool. It was really sweet in the dream. And he was like, oh my God, are you serious? And I was just like, yeah, man, here you go. He was like, thank you so much. And we walked off together as friends at that point. And it was like, dude, and in the dream, I was just thinking to myself, like, and then I woke up from the dream, and I was thinking to myself, like, they were like, yes, like, okay, we'll teach this kid. And that's what it was. It was like a test, because I was like, oh my God. Like, when I woke up in the dream, I realized what happened, and I was like, oh my God, they were testing to see what I would do once I got that energy from defeating an opponent, would I be like, yeah, in your face, buddy, this is mine now, I'm never going to give it back to you, and I'm going to go and destroy it, or whatever, do whatever I want to it because I know it was once yours, or I'm going to go and I'm going to use it to build an empire, you know what I mean, against you or whatever. It was like, no way, dude. I was like, dude, this is yours, bro. Like, I don't want to take that. Like, I got my own thing, and like, I'm not about hurting other people or whatever. So when I say like I took the energy from fish, just know like I would never take somebody's energy and try to do something that was bad with it, or just think about it. I was saying the dream how I was doing this, and then I had to pull the energy from my hands, and I realized it was like a bubble there, and I was like, oh my God. And then I had to get it off my hands because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? I don't want to like create some crazy energy bubble that all of a sudden everybody at Fish is like, what the hell? Who did this? You know what I mean? It was this guy, right? So I'm like, dude, I got to get it off my hands. Think about it, just being innocent here, and like, like just being honest and like trying to get it off my hands. I was like, oh my God, at the concert. And then I was like, I got to pray over it. I can't just let it go out there by itself and let somebody pick it up and do something bad with it. You know what I mean? And blame it on me. So I was like, I got to pray over it and bless it. And then once I did that, that's when everything kind of started happening, whatever. But like I said, when I was like my hands straight up, and still to this day, and I'm gonna meditative dance at some point, you'll see. But I'd rather do it once there's like a concert, crowd, whatever, go and just show you guys what's up. But anyways, that's a Kung Fu story for Shifu Fred Christie in honor of. I don't know where that guy is, but God bless that dude. Firefighter in New York City for like 20, 30 years, down in, I believe he was in Queens. And the guy was an amazing guy, man, and I'm sure he's out there still to this day. And like I said, I wonder what he'd be thinking about these riots right now. But I got a lot more stories to talk about. I'm at about 16 minutes, so I got a little bit longer to go. Let me talk about this Bible verse that I just did on Facebook. So I literally, I've been doing these Bible verses on Facebook, and I've just been throwing them in there, and none of them I have researched. None of them I have long gone through the pages and just been read it and been like, this looks good. I'll use this for this situation. I'll use this for that situation. I literally will just grab the book, say a prayer over it, ask for something, and then whatever I'm looking for, and then I will just open it up and skim through the pages with my eyes closed, and then once I feel it, I will open the book, and then wherever I feel like my eyes should go, I open my eyes, and then wherever the first word I see, that's where I start, and I go from there. And then wherever it ends up, that reading is where I stop. And that's pretty much how I do it. So everybody has a different way to do things. It's kind of the way I do it, and it seems to work for me. So not to, everybody can do things different ways, but that's kind of my thing, and I do it through synchronicity, because like I said, synchronicity, it's like there's a check mark right there, synchronicity, every single category, because all these stories have synchronicity throughout them. And I have synchronicity, like I said, in all my numerology throughout my birth dates, throughout the time. There's something weird going on, all right? And so anyways, that's my Kung Fu story about the energy, stuff like that. I don't never take anybody's energy. I'm a good person. I don't want to ever hurt anybody. And this sort of stuff that I talk about, it's parapsychology. I find it interesting. It's a study of the intuitive mind. Human beings, we have amazing gifts, okay? So anyways, healing, stuff like that, I love it. So anyways, Isaiah 49. That's the reading I came to. There was a couple things in there. There was a verse in that said, the Lord called me before I was born. He named me in my mother's womb. Okay, so when I read that reading, there was a verse in there that was said. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, is synchronicity with that? Because that's true. And the reason why that's true is because before I was born, about 2 weeks before I was born, maybe about 2 weeks, but I'm telling the story from my mom. But my mom has told this story many times to my family and other people, and this is a known story through my family. My mom was amazing. And but my mom, she had while I was in her womb, she was just getting ready to have me. I was probably about maybe 10 days out from, or maybe a week out from being born. And but she had a dream that my mom was playing cards in the kitchen table with her family. And in the dream, my sister Caroline, who's a couple years older than me, was in the family room. And then like I said, I wasn't born yet. And my mom was playing cards in the dream. Again, this is just a dream. And all of a sudden, this crazy light started shining in from the outside, through the bay window in the family room, onto Caroline and all around her. And Caroline jumped up. Caroline was like a 3-year-old toddler at that point, 2 or 3 years old. she jumped up and was like, had her arms out all excited. And my mom was just like, what's going on over there? So my mom, in the dream, again, it's just a dream, she went over and she told me and everybody about this dream. And she said she remembered everything about the dream. And she went over and she immediately picked up Caroline and looked, and as this light, there was like an orb, and it came into the family room, and then a full apparition of Jesus, she said, it looked just like Jesus, appeared. And this is while I was in my mom's womb. Think about that. So like as she's having this dream, like Jesus appearing to my mom. And she said he was the most handsome, beautiful man that she's ever seen in her life. She said he was just stunningly handsome, just unbelievably radiant. The love and everything coming off of him was just unbelievable. She said it was the most, humbling. It was just unbelievable, just pure love, pure everything. And she said that he was standing there in the living room, and he put his hands out for Caroline. And my mom was holding on. Again, she's about 3 years old at that point, toddler. And anybody who has kids knows the strength of a toddler. They can be a little bit strong, but they ain't gonna And so my mom was holding on to Caroline, but like Caroline was literally pushing my mom like away to get to Jesus. And again, this was just in a dream. So, but she's pushing my mom away, and my mom was I couldn't believe that Caroline was just like trying to get away, and Caroline was just like, no. And finally, my mom got pissed at Jesus because she couldn't believe that she was trying to take Caroline. And so my mom got pissed at Jesus, and she screamed at him in the family room. And she says, like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to take my daughter? Don't take my daughter, take my mom. She's already lived her life. And she said she couldn't believe that she said that in her dream. But like in the dream, she was just kind of like, it's one of those things like, how you just do things in the dream sometimes. And again, like kind of like what I was saying before, you're flowing through it, but you're also an observer of it. So when you wake up, you're like, you remember the observation of it, observing it, but you were also flowing in at the same time. So you had no real control of what you said or what you did, but you just watched yourself do it. So again, like, when she woke up, she was just kind of like, she couldn't believe she said that in the dream, because that is kind of a crazy thing to say, especially if you love your mom, right? And but obviously, when you think about it, a little girl life, she's 2 or 3 years old versus an older, grandma, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you can understand if you have to choose between the two, but it's like but to say it, come out and say it, that's like another thing, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, whoa, dude, you know what I mean? And but she said it, and she was like, why are you trying to take my daughter, take my mom? My mom's already lived her life, And she said at that point, Jesus stopped, looked directly at her, dead in the eyes, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, my mom's name was Irene. And she said, he called her by name and said, don't you know that Helen's coming home in 2 weeks? And Helen was my grandma's name. That was my mom's mom name, Helen Flynn. And said, don't you know that Helen's coming home in 2 weeks? And when was the eruption of Mount St. Helens? Was that 1980, I think? And I was born in the end of 80. So that may have been while I was in my mom's womb, maybe when that erupted. Anyways, just made that correlation. But anyways, he said, don't you know that Helen's coming home in 2 weeks? And then she said, boom, she woke up from the dream. And she said as soon as she woke up from the dream, she could remember everything about the dream, everything, because it was so vivid. And she was like, my mom was like a religious woman. She loved God, went to church all the time. So for her to see God and see Jesus, so to speak, in a dream, like she'll remember everything about that dream. But the one thing that she can't remember to this day is like his face. And she said like it was almost like his face was wiped. Like she could see his face when she was in the dream talking to him. She said it was the most handsome man she's ever seen. But it was like as soon as she was woken to, she could remember every word, everything, every part of that dream, but the face. And she was just saying again, she couldn't believe that she said it about her mom. And but it was one of those things, she was just like shocked. And then so fast forward, that was just a dream. So about 3 days later, my mom was at the house, and my sister Caroline, who was a toddler, it was right before I was going into labor, or not I was into labor, but right before my mom had me. My sister Caroline swallowed her tongue as like she was like almost 3-year-old, or maybe she just turned 3, and she swallowed her tongue. And I guess that can happen when you're a little kid. And so they actually found her when she was like just starting to turn blue or something or whatever. But they called 911. 911 got there. They were able to save my sister, but I think for a second she was pronounced. I think they lost her for a second, either on the ambulance or to the hospital or something. And my mom and my dad were there, when that happened, and you can imagine like losing a child, like, you know, even for a second, you think you lost a child, you know. And my mom was just like, couldn't believe it, because it was like in that dream she just had, and how Jesus was coming for Caroline, and boom, like Caroline a couple days later, like swallows her tongue, almost dies. She makes it. They do revive her. She does live. And then about 2 weeks to the day from that dream, my grandmother, Helen Flynn, had a massive heart attack, and they said that before she hit the floor, she was gone. And they said it was complete, just, you know, heart just completely banged before she even hit the floor, so she didn't feel a thing. And because that woman was a saint, and so, you know, thank God she didn't feel anything. And so, but that was my mom's mom, you know, Helen, and that was the story of my mom, and kind of how the Lord called me before I was born. You know, He named me in my mother's womb. And when I read that verse, obviously that's about, you know, that verse, I'm not saying that verse is about me, but when I read that, I was just kind of like, wow, like that's crazy, because my mom, that story of my mom, like flooded in my mind about how my mom's told me that story, and told other people in my family about that story, about how she saw Jesus in the dream, that He said He was there to take Caroline. Caroline almost died a couple days later, just randomly, and then that, but He was going to take his mom, but He didn't end up taking my Caroline, my mom's Caroline daughter, so thank God. But crazy dream. So, but if He was there and He did have that with my mom, then one's gonna think, you know, he obviously, like, I experienced Jesus too. I mean, I was just a little baby at the time in the womb, but I was just about to come out. I was 9 months, you know what I mean? So I was just about to come out, and I was just like, hey, Jesus, what up, dude? So a little bit of a crazy story, but in that Bible verse, Isaiah 49, it kind of hit me hard. And then the other part too, let's just be honest here. If we're going to have anything truthful, we got to be honest and truthful with each other. And I'm going to do parapsychology videos here, then I'm going to be honest and truthful with people, and that's what I've been. People are going to make fun of me. People are going to laugh about me, saying different things, you know, about the meditative dancing and stuff like that. But let people say what they want to say and think what they want to think. But so anyways, Isaiah 49, like I said, the Lord called me before I was born. He named me while I was in my mother's womb. That story of my mom in the dream, right before I was born. And then at the end of that verse, and there was a bunch of other things in there too, but at the end of that verse it says, yet as you listen, the children you have been deprived of. And that's my daughter. I have a daughter, Nevaeh, and I have been deprived of her because, just be honest, she's in Texas, and I've been trying to reach out to her for a while now, and I do feel deprived of her, and I have reached out to God in prayers and numerous things. And I am going to be figuring that out soon enough, because that's not right, and what they've done to keep me from my daughter is not right. So that's a real story. And but when I read that verse, I said, man, show me something. And God showed me Isaiah 49, and I was just like, bang, I do remember that. And like He says that I'm going to get my children back in my life, and I do believe that. You know, my daughter, very important to me. So God bless. That's episode 6, 1228, Joey Ray, Joseph Ramos. 1222, Nevaeh Ramos. It's my daughter. And then 228, it's my mom, Irene. And 228 is in 1228. 1222 and 1228, both 3 days after, 3 days before Christmas. Both Capricorns, both monkeys. Chinese horoscope, Western horoscope. Capricorn, the Western Chinese, and the thing that's me and my daughter, both Capricorn monkeys. And both 3 days before Christmas, 3 days after Christmas. My mom's birthday is in my birthday, 2/28, 12/28, synchronicity throughout, all sorts of numerology craziness. Going to get into more of that stuff later, but the meditative dancing is a real thing. So we basically went over how a person that has had all these experiences, 9/11, the shooting stars, God's the original GPS, a UFO sighting where it telepathically said, like, look up, are you kidding me? Is it possible that I would have a meditative dancing where I could actually tap into something and I could actually hear there's a spirit. There's a spirit. We have individuals. There's individuals, humans. There's individual spirits. Okay, and then there's a collective. There's mass consciousness. There's a collective spirit, and there's a collective kind of energy, right? Energy field consciousness, and so there's basically somebody who was able to feel individual, collective, empathy, high, clairsentient, high performing, or whatever you want to say. Would I be able to, maybe through dancing and stuff like that, get into a meditative state and be able to have a heightened state of awareness to be where I could feel stuff on another level and be able to do things and maybe move energies and stuff like that. Is that possible? Yes, I think so. And I know so. So anyways, that's the end of episode 6, but just kind of talked about the energy, the Kung Fu Dream, Shifu Fred Christie in Myrtle Beach Kung Fu, and also about the Bible verses, Isaiah 49, and the synchronicity. And there's a ton of synchronicity. It's unbelievable. But episode 6 was just kind of just touching up on just the first 5 episodes and just kind of wrapping it up and giving you guys a little bit of tying it together. And now the journey of the meditative dancing from concert to concert, festival to festival, is going to start. The story of that. It's going to start to go, and you're going to get more synchronicity, and then we're going to talk about other things as well related to parapsychology. We're also going to start talking about it in the landscape of just the world around us, and how my story is starting to kind of like wrap into the world around us, and starting to kind of, you're going to start to see it and hear it, and it's going to, like I said, I have witnesses, so it's pretty crazy stuff. But I'm not making any of this stuff up, and why would I? Anyways, so yeah, and I am trained in Reiki, by the way, so I do have a Reiki certification, and they say there's 3 levels of Reiki, Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3, right? So I am certified in one of the levels, and I do know that episode 7 is going to be a doozy. So you guys have a great weekend, stay safe, and see you later.